Hello, fellow educators. It's Joe Marquez here once again, and I want to give you a quick tip on how to use this tool called Nearpod. Now, Nearpod is a great tool for presentations and checking for understanding and get instant feedback on whether your students understand material or if you need to go over it a little bit more. But the one thing that I've been hearing from a lot of educators after I've showcased Nearpod is, they're like, what, our classes, we don't do slide decks anymore, or a lot of our lessons don't require a slide deck. Because we want to have a class discussion. We just want the class to be allowed to flow in a way that a slide deck wouldn't allow it to happen. And my response to that is those classroom discussions are fantastic. I think having the kids voice their opinions is incredibly important. But the same problem happens as with every class is after you've talked about things and you ask the class, hey, do you guys understand? Or after talking, do you guys still understand the material? You still need to get some kind of feedback through a channel that doesn't necessarily put the kids out there where they have to raise their hand or showcase their voice. A lot of students are still shy. A lot of students, especially our English as second language students, they may not feel that their English is up to the level where they want to speak out in class like that. So giving them kind of a back channel to be able to speak is incredibly important. So what I've done is in Nearpod, I created a Nearpod I call On the Fly. So I'm going to showcase what it is, and then I'm going to actually give you a link so that you can download this all on your own. So I'm going to select live lesson. And so what I would do in class is before I start the classroom discussion, I go ahead and click live lesson. Now, for my students, I go ahead and push this out to them through Google Classroom because that is our LMS that we utilize. If you use Remind, you can push this out to them via Remind. If you use Microsoft, you can push it out via Teams, or you can just give them a link. But for myself, I go ahead and push it out via Google Classroom. And this purpose, since I'm not using Google Classroom, I'm going to go ahead and collect the link. So this On the Fly is basically two slides. One is the introductory slide, which you don't ever really need to use. It's just to remind you, hey, this is an on-the-fly presentation. Then I go ahead and select next, and it's just the students telling the students, hey, join this lesson. We're going to keep this going in the background. And whenever we have a whole class question or whenever we have an activity that we or the instructor wants to go ahead and push out, it's available to us for the entirety of the period. And that is it. That's all you need. So let me show you how this works. So I'm going to go ahead and open up an incognito tab. And I'm going to go ahead and place the link that I went ahead and created for this lesson. And then as the students, when they log in, all they would need to do is type in their first name, last initial. That's what I always do for my students in Nearpod. Even though Nearpod's not collecting all this data, I still utilize first name, last initial, particularly because if I have two students with the same first name, I definitely want to understand who they are with that last initial. Now for the other, they don't ever have to put anything in there. The only time I've really ever used the other is when I'm actually co-teaching with a teacher and we're broadcasting this live via Google Hangouts or Zoom, and I want all the students in my class and my co-teacher's class to be able to answer together, but I want to know where they're from. And so I go ahead under the other, I have the students put down the name of the teacher or the class that they are in. So that's what I utilize the other option. I'm going to go ahead and select join session right here. And notice all that's going to be on the student screen is join this lesson, keep this open for the background. Now you could have a slide that says the title of what the talk is going to be about, maybe the essential question on the bottom. You could absolutely do that. But the whole purpose of this is to make it quick and easy to go. And I just go ahead and click, say, join this lesson and keep it open because I want to be able to use the same Nearpod for any purpose, not separate them out based upon what lesson I'm doing. So that's why I go ahead and keep this generic. But if you absolutely do want to change it up, you absolutely can. So now I'm going to go back to my lesson right here. And so let's say that we are talking about Mars, right? And so the kids are like, we want to know a little bit more about Mars because we're talking about planets and this and that. The kids are like, oh, I've learned a little bit about Mars. You go, okay, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to click Add Activity, select Web Content. If you already have one of your favorite Mars websites ready, you can absolutely do that. Or you can just send them to a website you know there's going to be information on Mars. So nasa.gov. I go ahead and click Share. And so now if I go back to my incognito tab as a student, it says open website here. And it all of a sudden pushes them out to this website. That's one benefit of using this, right? You could put this in Google Classroom and have them go to the Google Classroom and then click on the link and then hope that they go there. And yes, you can definitely use the Send to Classroom Google extension that would do the same thing. But this is going to allow us not only to push them to a website, have them do a little bit of investigation, but also ask them a question afterwards. So we can go ahead and go in here, and they can come up here and they can search for Mars. Boom, and so here's all the information about Mars. Here's Mars exploration. The students can go in here and they can definitely investigate Mars and look at all the different things. And then when you're ready as the instructor and time is up, you can go ahead and select close this activity. Yes, I want to close it. And then I click on another activity, open-ended question. And you can just tell them, hey, type here what you learned, or you can actually type, what did you learn about Mars, and share it out. Now, if I go back to my incognito as a student, notice it pushed me out of the website, so the kids can't hang behind. And now we're here and ready to answer the question. I learned ... And I hit submit and go back, and I see all the students coming in here answering it. Once again, this is a fantastic way of getting questions out there, information out there, checking for understanding, but not needing to set up an entire slide deck for your presentation. I've seen a lot of teachers say that. I don't want to set up a slide deck. We just want to have a conversation. I want all the learning to be done by the students. We want to have this initial conversation to build capacity and information together, and then we send them off on their way to do a lab or a project or an investigation. And so that's what a lot of teachers are using it, especially in project-based learning and such. So this is a way that you can still use Nearpod, still use all the features, right? Close this activity, yes, and then I can and then add another one, right? Come in here, click on draw it, draw Mars. Share that with the students. And this is always one of my favorites because now the students get to utilize their drawing skills. So Mars is a red planet. So actually, let's start with black to make an outline. There we go. And then we'll come in here and we'll start drawing it red. Please disregard my drawing skills. And then, yeah, just little features all the way around. And then the students would hit submit. Come back in. And now you have an image of all the students who made their drawing. This is great for math class, right? You're going through a different math problems and you're doing all your normal things. You're doing examples, and then the kids are like, we understand. You're like, let's see if you actually understand it. Let's have you do this problem. The same idea, do the problem, and you can see everybody's answers coming in real time. So this is just a great way to utilize the functionalities of Nearpod without having to set up this long, immersive lesson that traditionally you think you would have to. And then when you are done, of course, you just come up here to Nearpod, and then you would end the session. And all of the analytics would be placed in your analytics library, and you can even name them period 1, period 2, period 3. But once again, here's the great thing. When the next class comes in, all you do is click Live Lesson, launch new lesson, and it's brand new. This is why I keep it generic. I don't go in and put the lesson here and everything else. I just keep it generic so I can use the same one over and over without the need of having to set something up in a long fashion. So I hope that you enjoyed this presentation. I hope that you actually can utilize some of these things, and now you notice that you don't have to have this entirely pre-prepared slide deck. You just have to have the ability to poll the audience and check for understanding. And this is actually part of a funnel or a filter that I utilize when selecting EdTech, and that is the inspect, redirect, make correct model. And what that does is it allows me to inspect student knowledge at any moment, not after the lesson is done, not on a Monday after a quiz, but right now. And this allows me to do that. And then redirect, that means if they're getting it wrong, I can send them to a website to do a little bit more investigation. I can go in and do a reteach of something that I've already done, and then give them time to make those corrections. And within the Nearpod lesson, notice that when the students submit an answer, they can go back and edit that answer if you have that up in your settings already taken care of. So it fits the inspect, redirect, make correct model that I utilize whenever I filter through any of these EdTech tools. So I hope that you enjoyed everything that you learned here today, and I hope this kind of sparks some ideas of how you can utilize Nearpod in the classroom in a different fashion. But as always, my name is Joe Marquez, and you can find me in the Twitterverse at JoeMarquez70. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear if you can utilize this in your classroom. I'd love to hear if you utilize this in your classroom, if it's actually working out for you. And I would also love to hear more ideas at how you utilize Nearpod in the classroom to really reach those unreachable kids, to really get the information that you need to really tier your lessons towards every single student in the classroom. And as always, please follow us on our Sons of Technology YouTube channel, and we also have a Sons of Technology podcast that we produce every 2 weeks, which you can find on all the podcasting platforms that you have out there. And please give us a follow at Sons of Tech EDU and tell us how you are innovating and you are getting these innovative ways to hack tools to meet the needs of all your students. And just like I said earlier on, if you want a copy of this actual Nearpod lesson on the fly to be used in your classroom and that you don't have time to create, all you have to do is go to bit.ly/Nearpod OnFly. That is bit.ly/Nearpod OnFly. And what that will do is it will automatically take you to a lesson that you can make a copy of and then edit at your leisure. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for taking this time with me to take a peek at this kind of hacked way to utilize Nearpod in the classroom. And as always, keep on doing what you're doing, keep on innovating in the classroom, and keep on making a difference in every student's lives, because you know what? Every kid deserves a teacher like you, and every kid deserves their voice to be heard. Thanks again. Have a great afternoon.